Peppa Pig and the Dentist of Shadows. Peppa Pig was about to come face to face with the scariest dentist ever. Peppa woke up that morning with an excruciating pain in her tooth. It wasn't the usual discomfort she had occasionally felt when eating too many sweets. This toothache was bad, like something was lodged inside her tooth and it wouldn't go away. Peppa tried to ignore it, but the pain only worsened with each passing minute. After breakfast, she finally told her parents about the toothache. "It really hurts, Mummy," she cried. "Oh dear, Peppa," Mommy Pig said. "We'd better take you to the dentist right away. No one should suffer like that." Peppa, like most of us, had always been nervous about going to the dentist. Still, she didn't want to worry her parents, so she agreed to go. Daddy Pig drove them through the town, but the streets looked unusually empty. The clouds in the sky had gathered, casting a terrifying grayish hue over Peppa Pig World. Even the birds' songs seemed to have gone quiet. As they approached the dentist's office, Peppa's fear grew. The building looked so intimidating. It looked like one of those escape rooms Peppa had heard about. The windows were covered with thick curtains, and the door had an old brass handle that creaked loudly when Daddy Pig opened it. Inside was scary. It was like a scene from a Saw horror movie. The atmosphere frightened Peppa, sending a chill through bones. A single flickering light bulb hung from the ceiling, casting long shadows on the walls. Peppa thought to herself, if he can't fix a single light bulb, how can he fix my teeth? The receptionist, a tall, thin pig with dark circles around her eyes, gave Peppa's family a cold smile. "Peppa Pig," the receptionist said in a very whispered tone. "We've been expecting you." Expecting me, Peppa thought. She was puzzled because Peppa Pig had only just recently mentioned the pain to her family. Peppa tried to smile back, but her lips trembled with fear. The receptionist led them down a long, winding corridor. The walls were lined with strange old portraits of pigs. Their eyes, wide open, seemed to follow Peppa as she walked past. Peppa felt their gaze. They were staring at her as she passed. Each step seemed to lead Peppa deeper into her terror. The silence of the hall made it worse. It felt like she was walking straight into a nightmare. When they finally reached the last door at the end of the hallway, the receptionist opened it without saying a word. Inside was a large room with an old, dusty dental chair in the center. It looked like something straight out of a horror movie. Sitting in the chair was the dentist. But he didn't look anything like the friendly dentist Peppa had seen before when she was younger. His face was pale, almost deathly white, and his eyes were so dark. They looked soulless. His smile stretched unnaturally wide, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth. Peppa gasped in fear. "Hello, Peppa," the dentist greeted her in a slow, eerie voice. "I've been waiting for you." Before Peppa could respond, the dentist motioned for her to sit in the chair. Despite her fear, Peppa couldn't seem to move. It was as if some invisible force was pulling her toward the dentist. Reluctantly, she climbed into the chair, and the dentist strapped her arms and legs down with leather straps. Peppa wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Her mouth felt dry, and her heart beat so loudly she thought it might burst from her chest. "Open wide, Peppa," the dentist ordered, his voice like a whisper in the wind. Peppa's eyes filled with terror as she slowly opened her mouth. The dentist leaned in, his face hovering above hers, and for a moment she thought she saw something moving behind his eyes, something dark and horrifying. His eyes were like a deep abyss. The dentist didn't use the usual tools she expected. Instead, he pulled out a long, thin needle that shimmered with a creepy greenish light. "No, please," Peppa whispered, but the words felt weak and useless. The dentist's laugh echoed through the room, and as he brought the needle closer, Peppa's entire body went cold. Just as the needle touched her gums, she felt a sharp, stinging pain, and everything went dark. Peppa's world was plunged into complete darkness. The pain in her tooth had gone, but a new, terrifying sensation washed over her. She was no longer in the dentist's office. In fact, she wasn't sure where she was. She knew she could feel the cold, damp ground beneath her feet, and the air had a horrible smell. As Peppa stood up, she noticed strange, twisted trees around her. The tree branches were reaching out toward her. The ground was covered in a thick fog that made it hard to see clearly. She tried to call out to anyone, but her voice was muffled by the scary silence that surrounded her. There were no sounds of animals, no breeze rustling through the trees, just the deafening quiet of the unknown. "Where am I?" Peppa whispered, her voice shaking with fear. A low, raspy voice replied from the shadows. "You're in my world now, Peppa. I'm your worst dentist nightmare." Peppa spun around, her eyes wide with terror. The creepy dentist was standing in front of her, but he looked even more horrifying than before. His face was scary, his eyes blacker than the deepest night. His hands were long and claw-like, reaching toward her as if he was going to tear her apart. "This is the Shadow Realm. I'm the dentist of shadows," the dentist said, his voice chilling. "Here, I keep my collection of lost souls. And now, I've finally got you." To add to Peppa Pig's horror all around her, she could see the faint outlines of other creatures. Some human, some animal, their eyes all glowing with the same fear. They were trapped in this twisted dentist place. They were doomed to remain here forever. And soon Peppa would join them. "No!" Peppa cried, her eyes filling with tears. "I want to go home." The scary dentist's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. "There is no escaping this place, Peppa. You are part of my collection now, forever. This is the Peppa Pig shadow world. You can't escape." Suddenly, Peppa felt a strange energy surge through her. Her body began to glow, and the fog around her started to swirl. With all her might, Peppa pushed herself toward the dentist. She wasn't going to give up that easily. She had to escape. "Let me go!" she shouted, her voice growing stronger. The dentist recoiled, his face twisting in shock. "You think you can defeat me?" But just as Peppa reached out to grab him, she saw something that shocked her. Behind the dentist, the shadows began to fade, revealing a doorway, a bright, shining light that led back to her world. The dentist stepped backward, and for the first time, he looked afraid. "No, you can't leave," the dentist yelled, his voice full of anger. Without thinking, Peppa dashed toward the light, feeling the darkness trying to pull her back. But she pushed forward, her legs moving faster and faster until she finally reached the light. With one last desperate leap, she escaped the shadow realm. Peppa woke up with a jolt, gasping for air. She was back in the dentist's office, lying in the chair. The dentist was nowhere to be seen, and everything seemed normal. Peppa knew the truth. She had escaped, but only for now. The dentist of shadows was still out there, waiting for the next soul to claim. As Peppa left the dentist's office with her parents, she glanced over her shoulder one last time. In the reflection of the glass, she saw the dentist's face, grinning at her, his eyes as black as the night. And she knew the dentist's nightmare was far from over. Subscribe to the channel for more spooky Peppa Pig horror. Hope you enjoyed this scary dentist story in the Peppa Pig shadow world.